Hey everyone, this is the Sorcerer Weekly podcast. It's February 10th, 2017. I'm your host, Spidey. I'm joined by Shadow
Hey,
and Soma.
Hey guys.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about the recent announcement that the movie might be getting more information next week and what this means. We're going to talk about the last chapter, which was Dragon or Demon. And we're also going to talk about the current spoilers that were released for the latest chapter. And we might just cover some of the voice acting predictions and casts that we wanted to talk about last week but didn't have time. And with that being said, as many of you know, Yonko released the news that the Dragon Cry movie is going to be... There's going to be a lot of information about it next week with the double issue of the fairy tale chapters. So, Shadow, what do you think is going to be in the announcement? What do you think is going to happen?
I think one thing's going to be an announcement. It's an actual, because it says it's springtime. I think one part is an actual date when it comes out. It's like, because didn't it also say we're getting a cover panel of the fairy tale as well? Cover page. Was that?
Yeah.
So I'm expecting to actually be a date for April 23rd. Fairy tale Dragon.
Oh, so April 23rd is your
2-3 months later for the rest of the world. And so I'm expecting that. I'm also expecting a hint of the plot. So we actually know sort of more what's going on, but not this is the plot, this is everything that happens. You don't really need to watch the film now. Just hints. Basically it's trying to hype you up to go and see it.
So you think we're gonna get the release date and the synopsis for it? Right?
Yeah, that's probably shorter way of what I was trying to say.
No, yeah, because you were talking about how you wanted the way we're gonna be teased, we were gonna be hyped. It'd be crazy if your release date of April 23rd is actually accurate. You've been accurate before in some of the predictions.
Yeah. People be thinking I'd be Selman, people just be plagiarizing you.
Soma, what do you think was gonna happen with this announcement? What do you think is gonna go on?
To be honest, Shadow, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I'm expecting pretty much the same thing. A proper release date, so a formal date, and as well as that, a little bit of information on the storyline. So some kind of idea of what's going to be happening, maybe who the main characters are going to be. So there might be a short phrase going, I don't know, maybe Natsu and Lucy are involved in some kind of adventure. Maybe they might introduce a villain, so I wouldn't mind getting an image or two of the villain of the movie, because I wouldn't be surprised if they introduced a new villain specifically for the movie, because I feel like that tends to be the kind of trend when it comes to shonen hero kind of movies. Especially you look at Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece. Normally with each movie they just bring in kind of a villain of the week, so as to not disturb the canon too much.
Well, to be fair, there are some movies for One Piece, for Dragon Ball and for Naruto that do kind of tie into the canon, right?
That is true.
Do you guys think, without getting too deep into spoilers or mentioning any spoilers, do you think there will be some connection or some tie into the canon of the story, or do you think it'll, like you said, it's almost standalone by itself?
I really don't know. I definitely hope there is, because I said this the last time we brought this up, but I think we're at a point in Fairy Tail where they can afford to have a big feature film and have it fit into the story. Because I think most people who would watch the movie would at least casually follow the series. So the movie would make sense in the context of the series. So if you watched it and then, you went off and you read some of the chapters, I think it would all make sense. I'd be very happy to see that.
I feel like if it does relate to the, it won't be some of the actual villains of this current arc. More, they are in some way related to them, they're from a similar place.
All right. So you think the villains, if potentially tied in, they would be from around the same area or the same origin as the villains from the current arc? One of the things that I think we're actually gonna get a lot of, because they said there's gonna be a lot of information thrown at us, right? I think we're gonna get character panels. Now we've already gotten Natsu, Lucy, Urza, and that little dog, right? But I think we're gonna get those character boards where they show you the pictures of them and their clothes for that episode, or I'm sorry, that movie. So we'll probably get some of the characters, like you guys said, some of the villains. So it'd be interesting to see. As for the release date, I do think they will announce it. Will it be April 23rd? Who knows? But it'd be interesting to see how far into the spring they're actually planning to release it. And like we've mentioned, it'd be interesting to see how they tie it in, if they tie it in. Because if they do tie it in and people are just, if people just casually follow the series, right, and they don't, if they just watch the anime and then the movie ties into the manga, it's gonna be interesting to see how they pull that off, or if they can't pull it off, because a lot of people would be like, well, why did this happen and where did that happen? So it'd be interesting to see what happens from there. What quick thought? What do you guys think about the fact that we're getting 2 chapters next week as opposed to 1?
Didn't actually know we're getting 2 chapters, so that's news.
I
That'd be
forgot
good.
until now, so sweet.
Yeah, there'll be more to read on whatever day it actually comes out.
Yeah, that's just more on my Saturday morning or Friday evening.
Yeah. Hopefully they release early before I go to work. So we've talked a bit about the movie, right? Let's finish that discussion we were having last week on the voice acting for the most recent anime adaptation. So we know there's gonna be a set of minimal 12 villains from this current arc. We talked about a couple of them. Who are some of their Shadow? You could start. Who are some of the voice actors you would think could cover other characters that we didn't talk about?
A character that was discussed but not all of us said everything was Invel, and I chose Travis Willingham for him. He played Roy Mustang, and I think Roy and Invel are quite similar characters in how they go about things. Without trying to be too spoiler, I'll probably not mention more than that because.
All right, I get you. What about you? Someone? Do you agree with that cast, or do you have someone else in mind?
I like that pick quite a lot, actually. Yeah, I think Travis Willingham would fit in quite well. My pick was Yuri Lowenthal, who is a pretty, I guess, prolific voice actor. He is the voice of Ben 10 in Ben 10 Alien Force. He's also the voice of Mercury in Ruby and Eliwood in Fire Emblem Heroes. And the main one, he is Sasuke from Naruto.
Sasuke! Sorry, I just had
to... yeah, so again, without wanting to give away too many spoilers, I think a voice that fits someone like Sasuke would fit Invel quite well, because there is a certain level of darkness and cold kind of shrewdness to both of them, and I think Yuri Lowenthal will be able to pull off a voice with that kind of quality quite well.
I don't know. Like I said last week, I just watch the anime. I don't really focus on the voices, but you guys have both sold me on these voice actors for this specific character. Hopefully the dub, which we know Funimation does, cast the correct one, because we know how important it is, right? Because if a character looks physically intimidating but sounds the opposite, they won't be taken as seriously as they should. What about another cast that you guys have? What did you guys have for Gatsurina?
God we mentioned God Serena last time.
Yeah, we did God Serena.
I do have a list of characters we haven't mentioned.
Go ahead.
August is another character we haven't mentioned. And for me, I have Christopher Bevins, who played Fiora Bradley. I feel like they're, again, sort of similar characters in there. They're powerful, they're respected.
They're like the big guys of their kind of respective factions. Because Fiora Bradley is like, he's that guy. If you watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, he, like, I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but the man is ridiculously powerful.
I feel like if you've seen all the list of all my voice actors, you realise that most of them are from FNAF.
Oh, I mean, I'm the same with Fire Emblem. So. Speaking of though, my pick actually wasn't in Fire Emblem. My pick is Kent Williams, who is father from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and he's also Gira Belladonna from Ruby and the Elder Kai in Dragon Ball Z Kai, I believe.
He was the actual actor. I was debating whether to choose Bevins or him, to be honest, for August.
Because I just thought he'd fit him so well. Especially once I realised he voiced father, I was like, that's perfect. They're both, like, again, don't want to give away too much about August, but they're both the big guys of their factions, and they are both extremely powerful. They're both very learned people. They're both incredibly intelligent and mature, and they give off a kind of gravitas about them, which I think Kent Williams would fulfill very well. He has a very deep and commanding voice, and I think it would fit August very well. So that's my pick.
These are. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you didn't pick someone from Fire Emblem or freaking Sonic, because those have been where your picks come from.
I mean, Sonic is close to my heart, and Fire Emblem has a ridiculous number of like famous voice actors in it.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the male characters. What about Demaria?
Okay, Demaria. Go, Shadow.
Lando Lauren, mainly because I couldn't remember many female voice actors who hadn't already starred in Fairy Tail. So I was kind of looking on just actors. I thought, okay, who's done a bit crazy but not terribly insane female people? And I thought, Zenobia, that's a good one. I went to rewatch a bit of DxD and I thought, okay, what else has this voice actor been dubbed? She's also Merlin in Seven Deadly Sins. And I thought, okay, they're quite a bit varied. I think she can probably do quite a good job for Daimaru.
I'm really sketchy when it comes to Seven Deadly Sins. Like, my entire experience with that series is half of the first chapter. So, would you mind giving me just a very quick...
Didn't you also Google who Merlin was because we said you'd like her character design?
Oh, is she the bad one? Okay, yeah. That's all I need to know.
Not one of the bad ones. She's one of the Seven Deadly Sins.
No, but that's not what I mean by bad.
Yeah, we know, Soma, we know. Never change. So another powerful female character was Belsarion.
Female?
Belserion's not.
Oh, right. Wait, I'm still confused. Wait. Belsarion, female?
We've done Irene.
That's the last name of the character. I don't want to...
We did her last week. That's why she's crossed out on the list.
She's there.
Belsarion is a different character. The one.
Oh, okay.
First name is Belsarion.
Alright, well, you know,
okay.
I didn't say Irene, but okay, my bad. So, so the dragon himself, Belsarion.
I don't have a pick for him, to be honest. I've only got the 12 main villains.
Basically just chose a voice actor who had already done a dragon in a different series. I just chose Matt Thurston, who was Tanin in DxD, who was the dragon turned demon character.
Alright.
Purely because he's already played a dragon, so I thought, he's already experienced doing the same job.
I honestly don't remember him.
I think it was season 2?
Season 2 kind of went past me in a blur, to be honest.
Was it season 2?
I have no idea, I don't
know. Okay, well, that's fair. I just realised I haven't given my pick for Demaria. Right, so I have 2 picks for Demaria. I'll just do them very quickly. One is E.G. Daly, who you're gonna laugh when you hear the roles that she's done.
Go.
So she is Buttercup in Powerpuff Girls.
Wow.
I mean, Powerpuff Girls was good, so
and she's also Tommy Pickles in Rugrats.
Oh wait, what?
Wait, Tommy Pickles?
Yeah.
Isn't which
Yeah,
one's Tommy
straight up.
Pickles?
I mean,
She's the bald one.
all right.
Oh.
You gotta sell me on this, because okay, you have Buttercup and you have Tommy, and you're gonna give her the voice actors the role for Demario. You gotta sell me on this.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, I did not pick her with those roles in mind. They were just amusing afterthoughts. The role that did kind of make me think, okay, yeah, she could work. This is another Fire Emblem one. E.G. Daily was Princess Hinaka in Fire Emblem Fates, as well as being Selkie and Perry. And Princess Hinaka and Perry in particular kind of caught my attention, because when I look at Demaria's design, I see her outfit, and I see kind of some of her styling choices, and she strikes me as kind of a tomboy. That, as well as some of her personality traits, make me think of her as something as a tomboy. That's very much
the one with the lance and the Pegasus.
Yeah, Hinaka's the redhead on the Pegasus from Hoshido. Yeah. So, and Princess Hinaka is a very tomboyish character. She's got a kind of very rough and tumble personality, and I think that's a fit. And on the other side, what you'll see about Demaria is that while she does have kind of overall personality isn't exactly what you might see when you first meet her, as time goes on, she kind of demonstrates certain other sides to her. And that's where E.G. Daily's role as Perry comes in, because Perry is, to put it very bluntly, psychotic. She's like completely insane. She basically kills people for fun, like enemies and just villagers alike. She's completely insane. And they both have very raspy voices. They're both distinctly feminine, but there's a kind of raspiness and a roughness to it, which it just fits what I imagine Demaria's personality to kind of be like. So that's one. And then my other pick is Tara Platt, who is Tamari in Naruto, and Muriel and Flavia in Fire Emblem Awakening. And I just picked her because I thought her voice would fit. She has a kind of smooth, mature, kind of feminine voice. It's honestly, I wasn't really thinking too hard about that one. I just thought she'd fit.
So we've talked about the Spriggan, which are the current enemies in the manga. But before the Spriggan, we had other villains. Just off the top of your head, you don't need to go into detail too much. Who would you pick for the Avatar members? Because I know we briefly talked about it, but we didn't really have people in mind.
That's a good question.
So there was.
First, I have to remember them.
So there was a priest. There was a guy with the reference to Tenro Island.
Oh yeah.
You had the fucking eyebrow game on point guy. And then you had that tank looking one and that crazy psychotic girl.
She was like the only one I actually liked.
I wonder why.
She was like the only interesting one.
I wonder why.
No. She like legit was the only like interesting one. The other three were kind of dull. I wouldn't even waste good voice actors on them, to be honest.
So you just give them to random. You wouldn't have anybody in mind.
I would just have us voice them, to be honest.
I mean, I just went onto the Fire Emblem things. I thought, okay, the priest dude, the person that voice acted Garen from Fates, he could do it. It's Travis Willingham, so he can't. That I've already chosen him for somebody else.
That's actually very difficult.
Is it difficult because you didn't like the orc, or because you can't think of anybody? Kind
of both, because on the one hand, it's not something I'd never given those characters much thought, like at all. I wouldn't even necessarily say I hated the arc. It just kind of was what it was. I actually liked it to an extent. There were some cool things that I liked. I know that a lot of people, or some people, aren't a fan of it because a lot of it is just basically Nazi one-shotting people.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong
I
with that.
personally had no problem
I
with that.
felt that
I liked
Daphne
it.
arc was a more entertaining arc, and I rank arcs by how entertained I was from it. So Daphne arc, which was filler, places higher than it on it an Avatar.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
you
only-
low-key really like Daphne.
Oh,
Well,
I
I
love
did really
I
enjoy
love
it.
the Daphne
Like, Daphne
arc.
was
It's
great.
fucking amazing.
Like it shows Grey thinking about like the reputation of fairy tale at stake, which I liked.
it
Shows
shows
like Natsu that he's always been obsessed with trying to find
Igneel.
Igneel to the point where he had to learn how not to disappoint his new family in disrespecting the name of fairy tale
And-
if he got to save people.
Another thing he learned was we learned the closeness and the relationship between the Strauss siblings, Elfman, Mira Jane, and Lasana, and Natsu, and how close they were to one another. Right? Oftentimes in the manga, we wouldn't get that clear backstory of why Natsu is the way he is or why Elfman is the way he is. But that arc showed us that Elfman grew as a person because of Natsu, because of what Natsu told him Lasana wanted him to be, which is heavily, like, it's super underrated. Like, people complain about the villain, hi, or whatever the hell she said.
I mean, she's still less annoying.
Understandable.
Than, like,
she's
some members of Tartarus. Lamy, is it?
Yeah.
Lamy.
Again, see, Daphne did have her problems as a character, with her high-pitched voice and her constant hi. But the arc itself, it developed Natsu more than you could say any other arc besides Tenro has, and the fact that we kind of undermine it and ignore it is kind of disappointing, because we constantly want to see Natsu grow. We want to be able to relate to him. He loses the girl, whether you want to think it's romantic or not. He loses a girl he was super close to, right? I mean, he's mourning her death, and you see him mourn her death. And then you see him go to Elfman when in the rain, when Elfman is right there just crying his eyes out because his sister died. And he tells him to snap out of it. That's not what Lasana wanted him to do. Lasana wanted him to always smile and be happy. So, what does Elfman do? He turns a new leaf. He becomes manlier. He becomes stronger. He's still irrelevant to the story, or for the sake of the story, right? But you see that growth he had. You see the growth Mira Jane had when she's there for Natsu. You see when she's a child and she teases him, but as she grows older, she begins to acknowledge and appreciate what he's done for her and for her siblings. And again, like I said, it's a great arc with a questionable villain, but the motivation behind Natsu versus Grey is way more fleshed out than Mashima has ever done throughout the series.
Which is very, very disappointing because the Daphne arc is 4 episodes long. For being honest, I've never thought about the Daphne arc that heavily. I've never disliked it. It's my favorite filler arc, to be honest with you, because it's short, it's to the point. It doesn't overstay its welcome. The characters remain in character, and nothing that you wouldn't expect to happen in the series happens. So it's not like the Eclipse arc where some really, really stupid stuff happens, or the Starry Sky arc, which is just...
The thing with the Eclipse arc that annoyed the hell out of me was the arc ends with, oh well, the Celestial Spirits won't remember anything because it was their alter ego. I was like, you literally wasted 20-ish episodes on this utter bullshit of an arc, only to tell us, yeah, the Celestial Spirits won't remember. Like, why? Adapt every omake, adapt every side story. You have 4 light novels, adapt all 4 of them instead of giving us this bullshit story that nobody wanted, and you could tell was very half-assed. Where the character design's amazing, absolutely. You see Loki differently, you see Virgo differently. But they were the entire growth of Lucy as a character was just undone because of that stupid arc. But that's enough.
We got on a massive tangent. Let's swing it back.
Let's swing it back. Oh, so My bad. One of the characters that we haven't talked about was the what's it called? The Wizard Saints. So we were teased the Wizard Saints in the Grand Magic games on both the sub and the dub and even the manga. Who do you have voicing each character?
For me, I'm not going to say why, but Hyperion was one of my favourite characters, like character design wise, one of the favourite characters that's actually been introduced in the manga. But I chose Kaji Tang, who I know from Hendrickson in Seven Deadly Sins.
He's also Owain and Odin in Fire Emblem.
Good.
Putting that out there.
I did not know that, but see, he's done more stuff than I actually thought. So I chose like him and Hendrickson because I thought, okay, they're sort of similar in a way. I could see the similarity between Hendrickson and Hyperion in that they seem like calm, they seem collected, and they have a sort of dark side to them, I felt. For Wolfheim, I chose Christopher Ayres, who plays Raven in the FMAP dub. And I chose him to be that because he seemed like the sort of person who's like an authoritative voice because of a scene that Wolfheim had in his introduction.
Alright.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only reason
What
I chose
about...
him.
Let's see. Okay. As I said before, I only had choices for the main 12, but I did come up with one pick for Hyperion very quickly, which is Richard Epcar. He is the voice of Warheart in Fire Emblem Awakening, and he's also the voice of Xehanort's Heartless, aka Ansem, in Kingdom Hearts. So I think you've heard those three characters. They've got very kind of deep, commanding, mature voices, which fits Hyperion as far as we know. Honestly, we haven't seen very much of him, so it's hard to give a really bespoke voice actor choice, especially off the top of my head. But that seems to fit in quite well.
Alright, so to recap, most of Soma's picks are from Fire Emblem, so if anybody listening plays it, chances are you're gonna hear one of the voice actors that Soma suggests. Funimation have for the characters that we talked about. So, Shadow was more of in this episode anyway, it was more of a Seven Deadly Sins guy. So I
There's
guess
some FMAP there as well.
yeah, there's some Full Metal Alchemist and there's some Seven Deadly Sins. So give that a watch and maybe you'll recognize some of the characters you mentioned. And if you know the characters, the manga characters we're talking about, let us know if you agree with these picks, or if you disagree and why. And so, besides going on a massive tangent and talking about the movie and the voice acting, one of the things I want to start doing is giving us time to talk about a character. Different character each week, right? We could talk about the good, talk about the bad, talk about the positive. We don't want it to be too ranty because we're trying to be, positive, and while we do want to be critical, we also don't want to just sound like we're being jerks for the sake of it. But one of the characters that I want to talk about is Gray Fullbuster. Now, I have this perception that I hate Gray. And to be fair, and to anybody listening, we're not gonna go into spoilers that much. If we do, we're gonna stick it to the spoiler section. But one of the things that annoys me about Gray is he's a smart guy. Not taking anything away from him, he's very smart. He was trained by he's friends with Leon. He traveled with Gildart in the spin-off that probably will never be adapted. So he has this talent already, right? But he's constantly making stupid choices, right? He in Galuna Island, he was willing to kill himself to stop something that wasn't gonna succeed. But whatever.
I mean, in fairness, he didn't know it wasn't going to succeed. In fairness, I mean, it still looks stupid in hindsight, but I can kind of understand his thought process at the time.
He has Urza, he has Natsu, Lucy to some extent, who wasn't as strong as she is now, but she is strong. Alright? And himself. What him trying to kill himself shows me is that he's...
I just thought about something during about the Galuna Island in Deliora.
Yes?
If Silver, the Fourbuster, was around, because he was resurrected and he learned devil slaying magic.
Yes.
And it must have taken a while for Deliora to be transported all the way to Galuna Island. How at one point did Silver not see this, or find out about a giant ice-encased demon being travelled?
I don't think...
He'd probably figured out it was Deliora and not try and kill it with his devil slaying magic.
I don't think he really cared, because Silver was just there.
He went around... We do know he went around killing demons.
Yeah.
That's why he froze Sun Village. And I was like, is that just a plot hole that no one ever thought about? I just thought randomly.
I just think Mashima didn't care too much about tying it together, which we've seen Mashima do in the past, where he doesn't really care and doesn't necessarily tie it in completely. But like the biggest problem with Gray is, and this isn't even me just trying to bash the guy, it doesn't seem like Mashima knows what he's doing with him, right? Because like up until Tenro Island, he was doing great. He was a main character, but at the same time played that supporting character very well. He had his own fights. Well, some I may not have liked all of them. I did enjoy quite a bit of them. Then in the Grand Magic Games, that's when he starts shifting and just throws. Seems like he's just throwing him in, shoehorning him in, just so he could be relevant again. Right against Rufus, oh, you're not gonna win. You have like a 10% chance or 20% chance or whatever Mavis said, and all of a sudden he's overwhelmed. He's super overwhelmed, but all of a sudden he pulls it out. And I get it's fairy tale, and I get they're supposed to win, but it just seemed like Mashima didn't know what he was doing. Then we go to Tartaros. Again, we have Gray doing a bit of nothing. In the Sun Village arc, I thought he was great. I thought his chemistry with Natsu was amazing. The little banter and brotherly rivalry was amazing. But in Tartaros, like I'm saying, he was just there. Mashima didn't really know what to do with him. He's like, oh look, let's introduce Silver. Let's have Silver snap his finger and like destroy Natsu, but let's have him struggle against his son. It just seems like Mashima doesn't know what to do with Gray. It really does. And I get that I'm critical, like I've said, but at the same time, it's kind of the way Mashima's writing him, because Mashima's not giving him much to do. And when he does, it's like, you're gonna have him do this again, why? But I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts on Gray?
No, I kind of see what you mean. When it comes to what kind of hero does with him, I agree that sometimes it can feel a bit tacked on, just a little bit. I think two things I think that I'm not a big fan of when it comes to Gray, though I do actually like him, and I'll go into things I like about him. I think a couple of the things that I'm not such a big fan of are his relationship with Natsu sometimes. The way that they're portrayed is essentially it's the classic rivalry, isn't it? It's the Naruto Sasuke,
I disagree there. I think, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting, I think Mashima is trying to force that on. I don't think it comes off as genuine. What comes off more genuine is their brotherly banter, right? Yeah, of course, yeah, they do fight and bicker, but you see that more in a brotherly sort of way, as opposed to Gajio, who you see as like an actual rival, same magic type, same origin essentially, so on and so forth. So for Mashima to constantly try to force down our throats this rivalry that's non-existent, it's just like, why, Mashima? Like, Like, come on, man. Like,
No, I totally agree that you're actually basically, it took the words right out of my mouth there. I was gonna say that I much prefer it when they are being like kind of brotherly and acting like good friends, because you don't actually see a lot of that from Natsu, really. For the most part, his male friendships are all kind of typical rivalries, like him and Gargiel, him and Grey, him and Larx's,
him and
him and Blood
Gildarts.
Dragons, him and Gildarts, like him and Urza to an extent. Like most of his friendships are built on rivalry. So I would have liked it if Natsu and Grey's relationship was more of the brotherly thing. I would have liked it if they were more like, to bring up a non-anime example, if they were more like JD and Turk from Scrubs, or like
that'd be
Ross
great.
and Joey. Like that would have been really good. I would have appreciated that more than like another kind of forced rivalry, especially because, like you say, Natsu's rivalry with Gargiel feels a lot more natural.
What about you, Shadow? I know you've been dying to talk.
Right. So I do overall like the character. I like the design, excluding the stripping thing. That got old quite fast. But I've a couple bits problems with him. One, I don't like his relationship with Julia. It's a stalking relationship, and I don't like how he simply just didn't. Hold on. I don't like how he didn't simply just tell Julia to just, without swearing, tell her to go away. He's not interested.
But he likes her.
And basically just tell her, go away, make yourself have your own character. Because at the moment you're just stalking me, and that's you. She deserves better than just being the stalker of Grey.
That's true.
Character.
Oh yeah.
I also didn't really like how his plan to defeat Rufus wasn't doing something so technical and creative, which would have been a cool thing with his magic, because it is a creative type of magic that memory magic couldn't take. It was just simply to overload him with tons of magic we had already seen, pretty much.
Yeah.
I would have much preferred him to be creative in such a way that Rufus simply couldn't understand it.
So he to make a spell that was so intricate he couldn't copy it.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be interesting if he made like Ice make some random stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, Rufus is like, "Wait, what the hell is this?" And then Grey uses his physical combat, right, an actual punch as opposed to magic to actually beat him. That would have been interesting, but instead we get the same old type of thing.
I didn't dislike that fight so much. I thought the ending, because Ice Make Unlimited, I thought was alright, in the sense that he created so many different objects so quickly that Rufus couldn't copy them.
Rufus
It was a little
memorized.
It was a little flimsy, but
Rufus memorized Natsu's final move. You're telling me Rufus couldn't use that move against Grey?
But he didn't see that move until. No, never mind. No, yeah, actually, I don't get that.
Like, I will say that Rufus was a very impressive character. He made very interesting magic. One of my favourites was the Black Lightning cannon thing, which was a fusion of another spell. I can't remember the actual name for it.
I think it was by Orga. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it was the Black Lightning cannon.
Yeah.
Fused with another
10,000 volt sparkle cannon. Or whatever.
Yes. I just look.
I think.
Well, I'll just Shadow. We agree. What's your second point, man? Because I feel like you have like a list. I think you have like a list of 10. I'm not sure, but it seems like it because you're like one. So what's your second one?
Right. So my second one is that some of his development, I thought, I didn't really feel like that was well made, in the sense that I thought the fact that you decided to basically just his interaction with Silver at Tartarus, I didn't completely understand why his character did those things, such as beginning basically arguing with Natsu during Tartarus about the end book. I thought, you haven't met this person, nor did he explain why what's the problem with the end book? All he said was a demon. You've already met demons that are friendly in Galuna. So
That's actually a good point.
I don't see
forgot
why
about
he
that.
initially basically said, but I haven't seen you in years. You knew I was alive. You didn't come to me after GMT. You didn't congratulate me my guild for winning. You, as far as I know, you didn't help during the dragon crisis when you were there. I mean, you were a powerful wizard. You could have helped. I mean, he couldn't have done much, but he still could have helped.
Perhaps. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this is his dad, who to his mind, had been long dead, reanimated. So I think we can let a slight lack of logical thinking slide. I think the idea is that he's just trying to carry on his father's final kind of wish, his final command in passing. I think that was kind of what Hero was trying to portray. When you look at it from a totally logical eye, it does fall down a little bit, because you are like, well, realistically, why is END such a big deal? You don't know what the deal is really, and it doesn't make much sense.
I understand that, and I understand why he'd love his father to do that. It's just, I'd love my father to the point where if I found out he had disappeared and thought he was dead and that he was actually alive, I'd be angry more than sad. I'd be shouting at him, saying, "Where the hell have you been?" Like, seriously, like he didn't really seem to be that upset that his father didn't even try and apologize, really, to say that. I've been busy. I've been doing stuff that it seemed like he didn't care that much that his father hadn't even said hello at GMG or whatever.
I think it goes back to Mashima's abysmal writing of Grey after Tenra, because you've mentioned the inconsistencies. The entire relationship with Juvia was turned into a gag. The forest rivalry with Natsu, which is really non-existent, right? I just think Mashima never knew what to do with Grey, so he just tacks him on. That's why most of his fights post Tenro Island. I loved them in Tenro. I loved them in Sun Village, which was after Tenro, right? But after that, did you see how irrelevant he essentially is? He's a main character. Well, we're told he's a main character, but he's so irrelevant to the story most of the time. And a main character should never be relevant to the story, unless they're dying, they're dead, or they're unconscious. And yeah, I mean, he's just irrelevant. Like, I want the Grey that defeated, what's his name? The guy from Tower of Heaven. The owl.
Fukuro.
Yeah, Fukuro. I want that Grey, where the one that was using his brains, he was analyzing shit and like beating people up. I don't want this Grey that thinks he's gonna stop. First of all, in Tartaros, in Sun Village, we learned that Igneo couldn't defeat End, right? And now in Tartaros, we're told that Grey is gonna defeat End. I mean, like, bruh. Like, I know we find out later on, and there's different what's the word? There's different exposition later on in the series, but up to Tartaros, we find out that Igneo couldn't defeat End or END, and then we have that Grey is gonna try and defeat END. Like, I was like, dude, come on, Mashima, do you really not know what to do with Grey? This is why I feel like he should have made Grey be on his own team with different characters. Maybe team up with Gajio so they could both strive to compete with Natsu or something. Because right now, the way we have him, he's an irrelevant side character who gets a few minutes every here and there. But that's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's had amazing fights. Like I said, the Leon and Chedia or Shetty versus Julia and Gray. That was great. He used strategy, he used friendship, and he used that stuff to his advantage like he normally does. But then we also have fights like Gray versus Rufus and Gray and Tartaros and stuff like that. That's like, Mashima, what are you doing with Gray?
It is interesting, kind of how Hero takes him in sometimes good direction and sometimes bad. I think that's potentially something Hero struggles with a little bit, is sometimes keeping his characters 100% consistent with their fights in terms of, you know, how they go about it. But I think we've kind of harped on Gray quite a lot, but I did say before that I do like Gray, and there are some things about him that I do genuinely enjoy. For the one part, just being superficial, I guess, I like his character design. I think he looks very cool.
He looks badass.
No pun intended. Like, he looks very cool.
The way he carries himself at times is amazing, right?
Yeah.
He's got that little swag, right? He's like, yeah, I'm Gray, what up? He's got that swag sometimes, but then there's other times where he's just like, he's just there, not doing much. Like, if Mashima would find a way to actually write Gray or hire an editor to help him consistently write Gray better, that'd be amazing, because Gray's already got that swag. He's already got the pairing with Juvia and shit. He's already got all this stuff going for him, but Mashima's constantly like reverting him back to irrelevantness.
So basically, from the sounds of it, the issue isn't really Gray, because as a person, as a character, he's pretty cool. It's really just what's done with him.
Yes.
Especially in this arc, because I think in this arc, my issue with him at first was that he wasn't doing anything. For a good long time.
That is gonna be another rant for another day, because I got my issues with Gray on this arc, and I don't want this podcast to be like 6 hours long.
Alright. Okay. Before we move on to our next topic, quick. Like, let's just very quickly. We bashed Gray quite a lot. Let's very quickly go through something positive about him each. So, I've thought about his design. I like that aspect of him, the way he carries himself. Shadow, anything you like about Gray?
I've already said I liked his character design, so I'll say that.
We're always going to say that. He's got great hair.
He had promise of having a very interesting magic at the beginning.
That's kind of like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah,
well, I mean, he's used the same spells pretty much every time for a long time now, and I think he should have more creativity than that.
One of the
things... I really like it. Yeah,
it's an interesting magic, he just hasn't been creative enough, in my opinion.
One of the things...
Which is ironic.
One of the things I absolutely love, is his relationship with Natsu. You see the chemistry, you see the bond, you see the friendship, you see the brother aspect they have for one another. Whether they agree, whether they disagree, they're always there for one another. But the issue is also the way Mashima sometimes forces other things that aren't needed. Right? But I love that Sun Village arc, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of my favorite arcs because of the Gray and Natsu friendship. Oh, Natsu, you take care of the bird and I'll take care of the snow, because you know what? Those are our strengths. You're good against fighting big shit, and I'm good at using my brain and, figuring out how to solve this. Another thing I love, his fights, for the most part, have involved strategy. Natsu, I love Natsu, but most of his shit is like punch first, ask questions later. Perfect example is against Jackal and Tartaros. Gray is more of a using strategy, more of a, I gotta make sure I do this first, because his magic, while it is strong, it isn't the strongest, so he has to not only be good with his magic, but he also has to be smart about how he uses it. In the last,
I really like how he uses. Sorry, Brad. I really like how he uses the environment to his
yes,
advantage.
exactly.
Like the way when he fought Silver, the way he used type plus attacks when Silver froze the ice over, so it couldn't be used anymore. He used the ice to fire rocks at him. That was so clever. Like, I thought that was really good.
See, I love that. Well? I love that fight. Well, I actually did. I'm gonna be honest. I disliked the fight because of how nerfed Silver was, but I loved how creative Gray was in that fight. Right. So I can't blame him for Silver being nerfed because that's Mashima's fault. That's Mashima's writing. But the way he used the strategy, the way he used the environment, the way he's going about things is incredible. So, but the problem is Mashima was constantly writing him poorly or in weird situations that make you go like, really, Mashima? Like this thing had so much promise and you're just ruining it because God knows what. His relationship with Juvia as the arcs go on has improved and it's become amazing in some respects.
Really?
I said in some respects. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of Juvia at all. But you could see the evolution in how he treats her and how they interact with one another, right? That's great.
Right.
But Mashima constantly always falls back to the Grace amount, blah blah blah. It's like if Mashima would cut the gag and actually focus on the development, Gray would probably be my favorite character over Natsu.
That's a big thing to say.
But it's Mashima and he won't do that, so Natsu's always gonna be number 2 behind Lucy. But yeah. So contrary to popular belief, we learned today that I actually like Gray. I just dislike the way Mashima writes him. Now, let's move on to the chapter 520, Dragon or Demon. So, this podcast I think is running a bit late, so we're just gonna give our quick recap reactions on each chapter, and then we're gonna talk about these spoilers. But who wants to start, Soma or Shadow?
Shadow, you go first.
I'll start. I thought I enjoyed it. I was right with something with the Natsu prediction thing, pretty much dead on. So I sort of like that. I mean, I was sort of disappointed that Lucy wasn't involved in the actual dream. Sort of thing.
I feel you.
I felt that could have been made to be a good area for actual development of that ship. Although we may see it because basically they were transported straight after they were he woke up, so we may see some at the beginning of next chapter.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I also felt I liked the ending for Urza and Irene and Wendy with them just hugging. Like, people say it was BS because she had broken arms, and I'm just like, I mean,
It doesn't really matter.
it doesn't really matter. You've this thing called adrenaline. You can still move. Yeah, I mean, it hurts a shit ton. Oh, I finally got to sweat. Oh, fuck it, I've already sworn. It doesn't matter now. I'll stop myself now.
It hurts a lot. Yes. Go on.
You've got like adrenaline.
That's true. That's another thing too.
The heat of the moment. You're gonna be. She's already. You've already seen these people have doing hundreds of fights already. We've already seen like Urza take tons of hits. She probably has a high pain tolerance already.
Another thing is in sports, a lot of people play with broken bones. In the Super Bowl, which was fantastic, a guy played with he had a broken part of his leg, right? He was still playing very good. So breaking your bone doesn't necessarily mean the end all be all. The problem is that Manga Stream translated it as shattered, which has a different connotation than broken. Shattered implies that you're like literally fucked, right? You can't move, you can't do nothing. Whereas broken, like you said, it just shows that you have either you have strong resistance or you just broke your bone and you can't overcome that. So that different translation kind of turned everything.
You can still move with broken bones. It hurts, yes. I mean, of course it can hurt, but like my sister broke both her wrists. She was in pain. She wasn't really crying. She was just she was in a lot of pain in the fact that, but she's not the hardest person anyway. But she wasn't crying. After like 7 hours, my dad finally bothered to take her to the hospital. All that happened was my sister was basically joking with my dad, but he's saying, you could have taken me earlier, but you didn't think they were broken. So weren't swollen. They just had pain in them.
I think
she could still move them. Yeah. It was like it just hurt.
I think when it comes to that, I think people might be thinking a little too hard about it. It's not really. The whole point of that scene is just to show the emotion and the bond between the two of them. So I get that there's something to be said for the suspension of disbelief being broken by Urza being able to move with broken arms, but I feel like you can kind of put that to one side because it's not a combat situation. It's the fact that she's like potentially got broken bones isn't really the important part of the scene, like at all. Now, I was surprised that people were even like thinking about that, to be honest.
What about Juice? Oh, Shadow, is that out of 5? What would you give the chapter?
Out of 5, I'm not going to be awkward and say put decimal points. I'll say it's a 4 because I felt it could have been other stuff as well.
What about you, Soma? What's your reaction to the chapter?
So I thought it was a mixed bag. I thought the opening part was pretty good. I liked what happened with Wendy and Urza. I actually really liked what Hero did in terms of showing that Wendy didn't know about Makarov dying, because I don't think anybody was paying that much attention to Wendy during the arc, at least enough to notice that she didn't know about Makarov dying. So I think that was, first of all, quite clever writing, and second of all, I liked the fact that it was almost the culmination to the kind of Wendy as a mother-daughter/sister relationship that they've been kind of building up since the beginning of this arc, and kind of low-key throughout the story. I thought that was a nice moment to kind of cap that off. It was almost kind of a replaying of the moment when Wendy lost Kate Shelter and Urza hugged her for the first time there and invited her to Fairy Tale. It was almost like a repetition of that. I thought that was quite nice. So I think potentially Irene's departure could have had a little bit more to it, but in the grand scheme of things, Urza showed that she didn't. But when it came down to it, Irene was basically a stranger to her. So with that in mind, I can understand why Hero kind of just sped past it. So overall, I like that part. The Natsu part, the last time I was on the podcast, I said that while I kind of understood and probably thought Shadow would be right in terms of his prediction, I'd be a little iffy if it actually happened, and as I expected, I am a little iffy about it. On the one hand, it's cool that Natsu has, shown that he's got a lot of resolve, that he is very much focused on the fact that he is a human. He's not a dragon or a demon. He is Natsu Dragneel, and that's cool. But I think I would have appreciated that more if that had actually been kind of a point of contention for him up to this point, because beforehand he's never, with the exception of maybe one, maybe two scenes if you push it, he's never really shown much distress or kind of uncertainty as to his identity. At least to me, he's always seemed quite secure in the fact that he's a human. So him kind of going, I'm not a dragon or a demon, I'm Natsu, it didn't give me the kind of payoff that I think Hero was shooting for. So I thought that was a little bit underwhelming. But, it is what it is. The indie plotline may or may not be over, we'll see about it. The fact that Universe 1 is now reversed is really interesting. It shows that everybody has gone... has everybody gone back to their original places? Or are they just being kind of
because they moved about
around again?
Once they moved about to get to Magnolia, once it expanded again, they didn't move to the same place. They moved to the place where the bit they were standing on was originally. If you understand that. Like, people were saying, why isn't Grey in the north? Why isn't Gajeel in the north or in the underworld? It was like, he moved around.
The North remembers, bro. The North remembers.
You wouldn't teleport to the same location if you would move to a different location. It just changed.
They didn't. Honestly, they didn't explain that part very well.
Especially because stuff he just randomly, just conveniently happened to end up in Lucy's apartment, which is where he started. So that's what I was thinking after they started.
So, Soma, what is your rating out of 5?
I am going to be awkward and give it like a 2.5. I don't think it was bad, but yeah. Yeah. Actually, no, I'll give it a 3. Yeah, it was okay, but I wasn't like blown away.
So, oh my god, where do I begin? So I hated the chapter. I hated the chapter. Well, hate is a strong word. I disliked it a lot. 1. Universe 1. How the fuck does everybody appear where they appear? We need... If they would have explained that a bit, it would have made more sense. Right? I think... And I've been critical. I'm not always critical, but I am critical of the writing sometimes. When I disagree with people and how they react, I make a Reddit post and explain why I think they're wrong. But this chapter was just bad, man. We know Natsu values Lucy a lot, so why would she not show up in his subconscious? Why? Why not have her?
Right, yeah.
Why not have her show up? Igneo just asks him, "Are you dragon or human?" And as he's looking up, he sees his subconscious, and he sees Igneo vanish and Lucy appear. Why not have that happen? It would have been a powerful moment. But no, we don't get that. We get just him and then Igneo saying "wake up" or some shit. Because apparently you just could tell someone wake up from a coma-esque thing and they'll wake up. Stupid. Just stupid. Just plain stupid. Then I got the part where he said he's not a dragon or a demon. He's a human. I get that. It wasn't necessarily literal where he's giving up both his dragon slayer and his demon magic. But he's saying he's human. He doesn't want to be recognized by those other aspects of him. That was the only bright spot in it. Everything else is bad. Wendy hugging Urza, it was good. So there is more good to it. I understood where they were coming from, and I did think that Wendy did heal Urza a bit, because you see those little arrows, not arrows, but you see those little lines coming towards Urza as Wendy sticks out her hand. So I was like, okay, maybe she healed her. You can't confirm nor deny that because Mashima never explained it, and I think that was his intention. But I just hated the chapter. Universe 1 is undone. They appear in wherever they appear just because Igneo is there for Natsu. Igneo was never there for Natsu. So why is all of a sudden Igneo the most important goddamn thing in his subconscious? Like, why? He was never there for him. He died 14 chapters after he appeared because he was being arrogant and thought he could kill Agnologi on his own. Like, no, bro, don't even give me that, hero. You could have built any other relation, any other friendship. Goddamn, make it Urza, make it Happy, make it Lucy. Goddamn, make it Makarov if you have to, but you fucking kept Igneo? Really? Igneo was never there for him. And giving that shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was there for him as a kid. He was in the grand scheme of things.
How long ago was that?
Well, not long enough ago for Nazi to forget. When it comes down to it, I guess Igneo's been. I think this is one thing to think about as well, because Natsu's goal has been Igneo since we met him, right? And we know it's been his goal. Igneo's been his goal since even before that. So there's always the possibility that Natsu kind of built him up in his mind to being more of a presence in his life than he actually was. Because that's something you see, and even in real life, you can get children who have parents who disappear, and the kids kind of come to idolize them. So okay. I can almost see that happening.
Here's a counterpoint. Besides Tartaros, and besides Oración 6, when Igneo spoke to him, when was the last time Natsu actually thought about Igneo? Did he think about him in the Grand Magic Games? Did he think of him in Sun Village?
I think he did think of him in Sun Village.
Atlas Flames brought up Igneo, and that's when Natsu mentioned him. He didn't think of him. Did he think of him in Tenryou? Not really. He just thought of the scarf. all these arcs he doesn't talk about Igneo, and all of a sudden you're gonna say that he's. I'm not trying to like rant at you. I'm just saying Mashima does this where he's hardly mentioned. He is mentioned, but he's not mentioned enough for us to believe that Natsu sees him in this like godlike fashion. I just found it ridiculous. It would have been a more powerful moment if it was Makarov who told him, wake up and save the guild, or some cheesy line like that, as opposed to Igneo who just said, wake up. First of all, Igneo, you dead, bro. You dead. Like, you're more dead than God's arena. So, I don't want to hear you. If it was Makarov, it would have been more powerful. If it was Lucy, it would have built up that relation that we know Mashima is ridiculously hinting. If it was Urza, they would have built that friendship that they had for a long time. If it was anybody, it would have built it up, and they gave us Igneo. Why? Like, it's just a waste of a. It's just a waste. Literally a waste. And then we have his subconscious Zareth saying that this is where he's gonna die, but then Igneo appears and he wakes up. It just didn't make sense. So for me, this chapter is a 1 out of 5. That's me being nice, because there was like 2-3 good things about this chapter. Because like I said, I thought this chapter was atrocious. Just a lot of it just doesn't. And maybe I'm just being mad because I expected Igneo to transform into someone else. But at the same time, Mashima just wrote a shit chapter because he had so much. There was so much potential there, right? And like I mentioned, it could have been Lucy, it could have been Makarov, it could have been Urza, it could have been Wendy, it could have been Happy, it could have been goddamn Gray. It could have been anybody from the guild. It could have been Loxus, who sees like an older brother. It could have built up those relationships, but he didn't. Instead, we get Igneo, who was never there for him, who died 14 chapters after he came back because he thought he was strong enough to defeat Aknologia. Like, stop it, Mashima. Stop it. But that's a wrap for another day, because like I've mentioned with the Gray, Mashima does write well sometimes, but then there's times where he just completely drops the ball. And I felt this was one of the times where he just dropped the ball completely, and it was ridiculous. So, enough with my chapter 520 rant. Let's talk about the chapter 521 spoilers, which might have another rant from me. It's okay, so we get chapter 521, the strongest wizard or the strongest mage. We find out that Zareth says, I'm very sorry for the situation, Natsu. We have Natsu saying perhaps Gray is heading towards Zareth. And we have the picture of Gray walking. Not even walking, it looks like he's dying. He's crippled. He's headed somewhere. We could assume it's Zareth because Natsu mentions it. And then the final thing is where we get the double, the 2 chapters next week, and then there is reference to potential Yodarts versus August. So, Soma, go ahead. What do you think of these spoilers, and what do you think the future holds?
These spoilers honestly kind of confuse me. I mean, first of all, I want to say I don't normally read spoilers, so this is a bit different for me. But the spoilers, yeah, they just confuse me, because I was talking to you guys about this before we even started, and I was like, I'm not sure if I even have the right kind of narrative painted in my head, because it looked like Gray was limping into the guild to try and take on Zareth alone, which just... I mean, even at 100%, he wouldn't stand a chance. So now, it doesn't really make sense. I can only imagine they're just going to talk to each other, or, and I'm hoping this is what the actual case is, he's not actually going to be confronting Zareth at all, and it's just a matter of us getting kind of faked out by the lack of context. He's actually going to be, he's actually talking to somebody else. That's what I'm hoping.
I hope to God you're right. I hope to God you're right.
I think it's a bit strange, like, he's going to Zareth so soon after waking up, because it's like, so this whole thing where you fainted in front of Juvia, and you both killed each other. You don't want to talk about that? I mean,
Actually, yeah, that brings up another thing I was going to say.
I mean, I don't like the ship, but for relevant reasons. But you don't want to talk about it because that seems like a place where you could have actually had development, which you seem to be lacking.
Yeah, because this is another thing I was going to talk about is the fact that if this is him limping towards Zareth alone, that means he just ditched Juvia again.
Oh my god, this just frustrates me. It's just frustrating, bro. Because I'm trying to be like super optimistic, dude. But Gray, if you look at the picture, he's all taped up because he's so fucked. He stabbed himself. He's got like bandages on his arms and shit. He looks like he's walking against his will, like he's so out of it. And then I'm gonna trust Natsu because he's got that dragon nose. So if he thinks Gray is heading towards Zareth, it's probably Gray heading towards Zareth, considering that the next chapter is called Gray's Trump Card. So we know it's not gonna be we could assume that it's not gonna be a fake out. Just doesn't make sense, man. Why the fuck is Gray headed towards Zareth? Like, bro.
Actually, I thought it might not even be Zareth. It could be Larkade, because technically speaking, if you remember, Sting even said that Larkade and Zareth have the same scent.
No, he said Larkade and Natsu had the same scent.
Oh yeah, no, never mind.
Because how would Sting even know what Zareth smelled like?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm just looking for any reason I can think.
You're trying to be optimistic, and I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. But we get Gray, and then oh my god, like, dude, what's Gray gonna do against Zareth? Like, fucking drink a cup of tea and be like, "Hello, governor." No, I'm sorry, that was a bit offensive. But he's not gonna do shit. That's the point. What I'm trying to make. He's not gonna do shit. And then Mashima again, shoehorning him in. Look, man, if Mashima was smart, he'd give Gray a Spriggan to take care of. Make sure they're dead or something.
They're all.
Well, not all of them are gone. But
I mean, okay, there is Jacob. He's still holding down the fort.
But what
is Jacob a Historia though? Or is he an actual person still alive?
Yeah, I think.
I think he's alive. Jacob.
There's still some characters that Gray could fight. Why are we sending him to fight Zareth? It doesn't even matter if it's not a fight. Why are we sending him towards Zareth? Like, what's Gray gonna do? Talk him to death? Bro, this isn't Naruto where you could talk no jutsu the shit out of anybody. Right? Fucking Mashima.
Okay, well, at any rate, just from the title alone, we know that trump card that Gray mentioned at the beginning of the arc when he was talking to Juvia, we know that's about to come out now. So, in terms of what it is, I actually hadn't really considered it until now. I still don't really know what it could be. I assume it's going to be something Devil Slayer related.
It's going to be Mashima writing Gray like an actual character. That's what the trump card is.
That would be a pretty good trump card, to be fair. I
mean, it'd be fantastic. I'm not gonna lie to you. But like you guys said, he left Juvia. He just, oh my god! Like, I need to see the rest of this chapter because I might just. There's already enough rants on the subreddit as read. I might write another rant because this is. You have no idea how upset this makes me. It's not even the fact that Gray is going towards Zareth, it's how Gray looks. He looks like he's about to roll over and die. And we're sending him to Zareth, who's just sitting there chilling, doing nothing. Like, really, bro? Really? Really?
I mean, I feel like I should point out again, this is the situation that comes from reading the spoilers. We have no idea what the actual context is here. We don't know if he's actually going to try and fight Zareth.
But that's the final page, though. So we know he's heading, and it looks like the wall of the guild hall, or the wall of the guild, where that Gray is leaning towards, because he says there's always a seat or something for me in Fairy Tale. So I'm just basing everything off the last page. This is ridiculous.
So, what do people think of like the August versus
Guild Arts?
Gildot's
I
snippet.
think, well, it's taken long enough. I think with what happened between August and Jalal, the fact that he like off-screened him, which anyway.
Yeah, that's another thing. Good, oh my god. So he did.
Just back to Grey.
He did off-screen them. Does that mean? And then the Wizard Saints were off-screen. So does that mean the Wizard Saints, Jalal, and Gildart are all gonna fight August? Because if Mashima does that, alright, I'll be like, alright, my bad, Mashima, my bad. But I don't think he's gonna do that. But how amazing would that be, though? The four Saints.
All the gods of Iskal and Gildat and Jalal.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
That'd be insane, to be honest. And then just throw Loxus in. Why not?
Yeah, just throw Loxus in there. Be like, have him use his lightning to arrive there. Be like, so you're the reason my grandfather is dead, or some fucking line that makes him look like a badass. That'd be great. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I am hoping, and I want to be as optimistic as you, Soma. Because I've enjoyed this arc a lot. I've defended it because I felt like it needs to be defended because this is a great arc. Are there some shortcomings with it? Yes, but this last chapter that happened, it was like really. It seemed like it was all over the place, especially with the Universe 1 being. Because okay, another thing, if Universe 1 was undone, where is Acnologia? Acnologia was in Mount Hakabe, so why haven't we seen him? So.
Well, he may well be there. We just haven't seen him yet because they kind of glossed over the effects of Universe 1 being undone. All we really saw was Natsu back in Lucy's apartment.
We also
we didn't really see everybody else.
That's true. I don't know, man. It just seems that Mashima's biting more than he could chew right now, and it's making me worried. I hope Gray proves me wrong, and I hope Mashima proves me wrong with the way he writes Gray in this, in the next chapter, and even this chapter, 521 and 522. But given Mashima's track record and the way he's written Gray, my hope is slim. Then again, my hope was slim when the Patriots were losing 28-3 in the Super Bowl.
One heck of an ending.
That was fucking amazing.
That's insanity.
But my hopes were low, but they pulled it out. So I'm hoping Mashima does in fact pull it out and just proves everybody wrong and shows us how amazing of a writer he could be when he wants to. Who knows? But like I said, I'm just gonna remain the way I am. So we've gone on for an hour and 17 minutes, which is roughly what we usually go to. We go 120 and stuff. So let's start wrapping it up. Soma, anything you're working on for the subreddit? Anything you're doing? Any recommendations for anime?
Let's see. Oh yeah, recommendations for anime. Yes. Spidey got me onto one a week or two ago.
Is it Demi-chan?
One anime called I can't pronounce it in Japanese.
Interview with Monster Girls.
Yeah. So that's actually a very good series. It's very funny. It's very funny. But it's equally quite. That's actually surprisingly touching. I don't normally find kind of I wasn't expecting it to be kind of touching. I thought, well, honestly, my first kind of worry when we started watching it was going to be a kind of typical harem thing.
It's not that. So whoever watches it, it does not turn to that at all. Don't forget though.
Yeah, exactly not.
Don't forget.
It's very different.
Succubus Sensei. Succubus Sensei though.
Oh yes, Sensei's best girl, as always.
Shadow, what about you?
Well, I started watching Your Lie in April. Other than that, I've not really watched that much anime and this season yet. But I have started watching Your Lie in April. That is quite good so far. I've only seen 2 episodes of it, yeah.
Alright.
I've seen all of Mob Psycho. This first season of that. I felt that was entertaining, but I'd say probably like a 7 out of 10, so nothing spectacular but enjoyable.
Alright. So like Soma said, Interview with Monster Girls is enjoyable. There is no harem aspect to it. It seems like there is, but there isn't. It's very faithful to the manga it adapts. Another series is Masamune-kun no Revenge. It's about a fat kid who becomes super ripped and is trying to get revenge on this girl who did him dirty.
Wait, I seen an episode of that. That was
That
good as well.
sounds familiar.
It's it's fun. Another one is setting is okay. It had a 5-year time skip for some reason, but it'll be enjoyable if you like that type of show. These are mostly slice of life, entertaining shows. They're not shonen. You could always rewatch My Hero Academia, which is always fantastic. With that,
Isn't there season 2?
season 2 is coming out March 25th. That's when the recap episode starts, and April 1st is when the first official episode of season 2 starts, along with Attack on Titan season 2 also starting on April 1st. That being said, you guys have been listening to the Sorcerer Weekly podcast. Adios.
Later, guys.
Bye.